Very useful or not? And this was given by Winston Churchill. Who is this Winston Churchill? Former Prime Minister of the UK, and he got Nobel Prize twice. One related to politics as a statesman, the other one in the field of literature. Once he said, usually Indians say, "May I know your good name?" Have you heard of that? It is not correct. And once he said, "I don't understand why educated Indians who are otherwise good at English say, 'May I know your good name?'" On the one hand, he admitted Indians are good at English. On the other hand, he could not understand why they say good name. That is nothing but translation from Hindi to English. If you go to the north, the first meeting they say, "Aapka shubh naam kya hai?" True translation, what do you get? What's your good name? But if I say you have a bad name, will you accept? No way. A name is a name. A very useful quote, always remain positive. Be an optimist. Let us go to the phrasal verb of the day. What is today's phrasal verb? Brush up something. Usually it goes with a language, it goes with a subject, and it goes with the word basics. I always say, brush up your basics. Means what? To practice and improve your knowledge of and skills in something that you learned in the past. Already you have learned something, and before the exam you try to touch the basics. Then what do you say? Brush up the basics of the subject. Have you heard of this? Fine. And look at the examples. I had hoped to brush up my Spanish. I want to brush up my French language. You understand? One, it goes with languages. The second example, I brushed the basics of the subject before the exam. This is what you are supposed to do. Before the exam, what are you supposed to do? You cannot read the entire subject. You have to brush up the basics. Shall we go to the editorial vocabulary? Yes, sir. What is the first word here? Disarray, an important word, put a star mark. It's a formal word, goes with formal English. A messy or confused condition, showing a lack of organization. But quickly write a few words. First you write mess. Mess can be a noun with two different meanings. One, as youngsters, you go to a mess. You all know that meaning, I don't have to tell. But usually we say the bachelor's rooms are in a mess. That's a general statement. What does it mean? Not organized. In a mess, write the phrase, his room, use the word room. His room is in a mess, means not organized. Have you got the meaning? So usually we say based on that, bachelor's rooms are always in a mess, or usually in a mess. But here I want to give two idioms, important idioms. On the other hand, if you take some people, when you enter the room, you're impressed. Everything is in place, neat. And for neat, first you write the word tidy. Tidy means what? Neat and clean. Neat and clean. And everything is in place, write the idiom, apple pie order. Very good. If you respond, I appreciate. Don't hesitate to respond. If you know, you say that. Apple pie order. It is in, everything is in apple pie order. Another idiom, spick and span. Both mean the same. Spick and span also means a neat and tidy, properly organized. Apple pie order also means the same. Both idioms are important. What are the two idioms here? Apple pie order and spick and span. Shall I go back to the vocabulary part? So disarray is a formal word that also means messy or unorganized. But there is another word I want you to know, another meaning. If you watch English movies, they say, don't mess up with me. If you mess up with me, I'll mess up with you. Have you heard of that? So don't disturb me. If you disturb me, I will disturb you. We'll go to the next one. Convene, an important word, goes with formal English. Part of speech, it can be not a noun actually. Please write verb. It's a verb. Convene a meeting. He has convened a meeting. It's a regular verb. To bring together a group of people for a meeting or to meet for a meeting. You gather people for a meeting and you organize a meeting. Then what do you say? I convened a meeting of the delegates. Have you got the meaning? Fine. Let us go to the next one. Grave, the last thing you want to visit. Yes or no? What is the meaning, typical meaning of the word grave and graveyard? Grave is a place where the dead man's body is buried, and the graveyard is a place where you come across. You can use words like a graveyard, crematorium, cemetery, burial ground, all. I don't want to give the word map, not the right one to take as a word map. But here, grave has a different meaning altogether. What is the other meaning in this context? Seriously bad. We also say a serious problem. Write one combination. Not only a problem, grave problem. First you write that combination. Second one, grave situation. Grave situation means what? Serious situation, a disturbing situation. And grave problem, a serious problem. Important combinations. And gripping. Gripping has a positive connotation. It has a negative connotation. So a movie is gripping. That means what? Interesting, appealing, positive meaning. Write one meaning. Here it is there, no need to write. Firmly holding the attention or interest. A gripping movie means what? It holds your attention and interesting. Exciting is also a positive word. But if you read the editorial, the context is negative. Gripping with, they have used fear, I suppose. Gripping with fear. Gripping with tension. Negative context, negative combination. Both you have to know. Shall I go to the next one? What is the next word here? Summon. Summon could be a noun, could be a verb. But as a noun, the form changes. We use summons. Summons, I'm sorry. What is the plural form of this? Is it singular or plural? First you write this word. Summons, singular or plural? Singular, not plural. Summons is plural. That is an important word form you have to remember. But here summon means a verb. Have you written that word? As a verb, what does it mean? To order someone to come or be present at a particular place or to officially arrange a meeting of people. It goes with law, legal, court. The court has summoned someone. Means what? The person has to appear in the court. I'm sure you all know that meaning. Yes or no? Let us go to the next one. Here, which part of speech is it? Adverb. But what is a verb form? Presume. Write the word presume. Presume is a word form. One of the word forms. Verb. What does it mean? To believe something to be true because it is very likely, although you are not certain. You feel something is going to happen, likely to happen, but you are not damn sure about that. Then we say presume something. But here you have to write the word assume. You know the word assume? Assume, write the meaning, imagine. We always say don't assume things. Means what? Don't imagine things. But there is another word form I want you guys to write. Write the word assumptions. Assumption has a different meaning altogether. Assumptions means one thing is whatever you think or feel about the future. But assumption, another meaning, you worry about the future or you think something may happen. If you take a negative, you have a negative feeling, then we use the word, though it is assumption, there is a different word altogether. What is that word? Please write the word apprehension. Apprehension is also in a way assumption, but negative. Apprehension means what? Worried or anxious about future. You feel something bad may happen in future. And we say don't have apprehensions about your exam. Have you got the meaning now? No apprehensions about the exam. Don't have any apprehensions about the exam. That means what? Don't entertain negative thoughts. Your preparation, fine. Go with a positive attitude. You can answer a lot of questions. Shall I go to the next one? What is the next one? Write the letter F. We have got many a time. Prevail, prevailing, prevailing context, prevailing situation, and prevailing problem. What does it mean? Existing. Exactly. Existing in a particular place or at a particular time. But the other day you got another word form, prevailed upon. Dominant, wonderful. We got when I did the West Indies, that editorial. Remember? Breakout, an important phrasal verb. Based on this, today I have brought about 5 phrasal verbs. Some of my students know, newcomers they have to learn. But what is the meaning of the phrasal verb breakout? Start suddenly. But you have to know the combinations, that is very important. Please write the combinations that go with the breakout. It goes with fire. It goes with clashes. It goes with war. It goes with diseases. And the last one we don't experience, it goes with volcanic eruptions. Do we experience this anytime? Not in our country, not in this part of the world. All the 5 combinations you have to remember. Breakout of the pandemic. Remember, they use so many times a disease. Breakout of fire, clashes, war. All these combinations important. So, start suddenly. What is the next one? There is an important idiom. What is the idiom over here? Cast a shadow. Sounds positive or negative? Negative. To spoil a good situation with something unpleasant. Cast a shadow. Imagine you have spent a lot of time to organize a particular event and everything is in place. All of a sudden the weather changes and it becomes very cloudy. Then you may worry. It may happen, may not happen. Then what do you say? Sudden change in the weather has cast a shadow on the prospects of the event. Have you got the meaning now? Fine. Collegium, an important word, please put a star mark. It goes with, it's a legal term. Actually, it goes with Supreme Court. Many a time if you read the newspapers, you come across this word. But here a different meaning has been given. Actual meaning today, it is in the limelight, collegium. The group of judges, you can say, and that group is known as collegium. They select the post and they decide who has to get which post, and the decision is a final. But what is the general meaning of the word collegium? An organization for people who have similar interests or who do in similar work. In this context, lawyers, they have the similar work or not? Judges, similar work. A group of judges, we use the word collegium. Specifically, it goes with law. Do remember, it's a legal term. Next one, I'm sure we have got many a time. What is the word here? Consent means what? Approval, permission, agreement. He has given his consent, means he has given his approval. Familiar or not familiar? Functionary, an important word, noun, a person who has official duties, especially in a government or political party. Party functionary means he has a role to play. Government functionary, he has a role to play, specific responsibilities. Lapse goes with everyday English, goes with effective English. What does it mean? A temporary failure. You forget something, short time. There was a lapse on my part and I forgot because of some reason. Do you understand? Have you got the meaning? So these are the words, not too many words. How many words? I think 10 words, not more than that. Before I go to the editorial, I would like to read the tone of the passage, at least one line. What is the tone of the passage? The tone of the passage is critical and concerned. Critical means what? Criticizing, not approving the stand taken by the state government, and concerned because something has not been done, the writer expresses some sort of concern. Underline the word concerned. Tell me, why is it important? A common error when people go to someone's office or a public place, they tend to say, those who are good at English also, they tend to say, I would like to meet the concerned person. That is wrong. You are a stranger, why will he have concern for you? That doesn't make any sense. He has got better things to do. Yes or no? So what is the correct expression? We have to say, I would like to meet the person concerned. Person concerned means person related to that department or person related to that work. Have you got the difference? Person concerned, different. Concerned person, entirely different. I hope you guys got the difference. Fine. Is the mic on? If you don't respond, I will ask the same question. Is the mic on? Then you have to understand time to respond. Let us go to the editorial. How does it start? Deep in disarray, positive or negative? And based on this, I would like to give one expression. All of you please write. But first you listen. Sometimes what happens, one or two problems you can handle. Imagine you have a lot of problems to deal with, and that too financial problems. Then we use an expression like, I write the complete sentence, write immediately. I am in neck deep problems. Have you heard of this any time? Neck deep problems. Neck deep problems means a lot of problems. you find it difficult to come out of those problems. The more you try, the more you get into that. It's a dead end sometimes. So deep in disarray, something is not organized, something is not in proper position or proper place, not a peaceful situation, a chaotic situation. We use this word, deep in disarray. And what is this about? On the larger message from the Legislative Assembly of Manipur not being convened. Context talks about, editorial is all about, at this juncture, means what? At this situation, at this time, everyone is waiting for the assembly, Manipur assembly to be convened and take a call on what happened in the past, I think May, June, and after that also subsequent to a particular incident. Today also I think clashes are on, but scattered, sporadic incidents. So imagine assembly is convened, then they take a call, elected representatives, and they try to give a message or they try to do something, but that has not been done. Because of that, the editorial says, on the larger message from the Legislative Assembly of Manipur not being convened. Once they convene the assembly, then they get the message. Assembly not convened, can you expect a message? Not possible. But what is the main idea of this editorial? Failure to hold assembly session shows depth of crisis in Manipur. As I said, this context is all about not convening an assembly meeting, and that is a failure. This failure shows the depth of crisis. Underline the word depth, also underline the word crisis. When it comes to depth, why I told you, I'm doing value addition, be attentive because we have only 45 minutes and this is live. Do remember, I want your cooperation. I can give more information. When it comes to water, first you write the word water and you have to know two words. One is shallow waters. What is the other one? Deep waters. And when it comes to the depth of water, you measure in which, what is the measurement? Please write the word fathoms. Fathoms means how you measure the depth of water, either a river or ocean, fathoms. I think it is equivalent to 6 feet if I'm not wrong. I'm not quite sure. But fathom is a word that goes with measuring the depth of a particular river or an ocean. That's an important word you have to know. Have you copied these words? Fine. Let us go back to, so crisis, why should you underline crisis, tell me? Now senior students, you have to respond. Crisis singular or plural? So what is the plural of crisis? Crisis. Immediately you have to recollect and put a star mark. And do remember here, the more you make a note, the more you write, the better. Stop looking at the screen, focus only on listening and writing and comprehending. Three things. Screen is not that attractive in my opinion. Don't make it the main thing. The main thing is what? Listening and writing and enriching. Let us go to the actual editorial. That the Legislative Assembly of Manipur was not convened. Underline was not convened. Which tense is that? Past tense. Active voice or passive voice? Passive voice. Was not convened on Monday as recommended by the Council of Ministers is an indication of how grave the crisis gripping the state is. What do you understand from this? The very fact that the assembly was not convened, though the Council of Ministers recommended, shows the depth of the crisis and with what that crisis gripping the state. Have you got the meaning? Indicates or shows the how grave the crisis gripping the state is. Governor Anusuya Uki, I hope the pronunciation is right, did not issue the notification. Underline, did not issue. Which tense is this? Which form is it? Negative form. Underline the word issue. Did not issue. Common error when it comes to past tense, interrogative and negative forms. Using logic, a lot of people say, I did not saw the movie yesterday. Right or wrong? I did not went there yesterday. Wrong. I did not see. I did not go. But what is this see? What is this go? For God's sake, don't use V1, V2. Not in my presence. They are bare infinitive. Why should we use bare infinitive? There is a helping verb. What is a helping verb? Did. If you have to use a verb after any helping verb, you have to use the bare infinitive form. What is a bare infinitive? Basic form without to. So here, did not issue what? The notification summoning means asking them to come. The House, even though the cabinet had advised, underline had advised, Which tense is this? Past perfect tense. First you write that. Now answer my question, when do we use past perfect? Two actions that happened in the past, one after the other. For the first action we use past tense, for the second action we use past. For the first one we use past perfect, second one past. But what are the four words you have to remember? They act as clues. Before, by the time, when, after. A lot of students get confused between before and after. Very simple. If you use the word before, you have to use past perfect before that. If you use the word after, you have to use past perfect after that. Easy or difficult to remember that way? Before, past perfect. After, past perfect. Here it is past perfect. Had advised her on August 4th itself to call for the session on August 21st. Underline the word itself. Answer my question, which part of speech is it? Immediate answer. Senior student, I don't expect beginners. Pronoun, which type of pronoun is it? Either emphatic or reflexive. It could be emphatic, it could be reflexive. And there are two rules that go with emphatic and reflexive pronouns. What are the two rules? First one, we should never begin a sentence with an emphatic or a reflexive pronoun. A lot of people say myself and the name. Right or wrong? Absolutely wrong. There are two patterns for that. One, I am so and so. My name is so and so. That is the first common error. Second thing, a lot of people use the reflexive or emphatic pronoun in place of a personal pronoun. They tend to say, my friend and myself met the director yesterday. Right or wrong? So what is the correct sentence? My friend and me or my friend and I? My friend and I. Because the pronoun is in the subject position, we have to use the subject form. And these are also reflexive. One is emphatic. I have given the rules. And they go with reflexive as well. But reflexive pronouns are very important. There is one important rule. What is that rule? Imagine all the verbs cannot be used reflexively. What is a reflexive verb? Usually in English, the basic pattern is subject, verb, object. In this pattern, the action goes from the subject to the object. But sometimes what happens, the action goes back to the subject. Then we say the action got reflected, we call the verb a reflexive verb. And the important reflexive verbs are enjoy, absent, avail, avenge, revenge, and pride. And answer my question, is this sentence right or wrong? They enjoyed a lot last summer. Wrong. So why is it wrong? There is a reflexive verb, enjoy. After that there is no object. Then we have to use a reflexive pronoun. So what is the correct sentence? They enjoyed themselves. So that you have to recollect. Let me continue. So where did I stop? Itself to call for the session on August 21st. The delay on the part of Raj Bhavan. Please underline on the part of. On the part of Raj Bhavan in issuing the notification is presumably. Presume, from that you get the adverb. Presumably. Due to the political and law and order situation in the state. Two reasons. What are the two reasons? Due to means the reason. What are the two reasons here? One is a political and the other law and order situation in the state. All of you underline law and order. How many words are here? And what is the conjunction here? And. Now should I say law and order are under control, or should I say law and order is under control? Why? English people consider sometimes two synonyms, one unit. Law means order, order means law. But they are considered one unit, so we have to use a singular verb. Write one more example. Law and order is under control, familiar one. But write another one. His power and authority. His power and authority are very scary. S-C-A-R-Y, scary. Scary means what? Frightening. Is this sentence right or wrong? Underline power, authority. Both are synonyms, but they are considered one unit. So don't use a plural verb, change it to singular verb. His power and authority is very frightening, intimidating. Shall I go to the next sentence? Legislators of Kuki ethnicity. Underline the word ethnicity. We have got the word ethnic many a time. Means what? Traditional and belonging to a particular region or a particular race or group. Ethnicity, noun form. Across party affiliations, underline the word affiliation. Familiar words have not brought the meanings, you have to respond. Affiliation means what? Association with someone, attachment to someone. The party has affiliation with the center, means what? There's some attachment or some understanding, some agreement between the two groups. Affiliations have expressed, underline have expressed. Which tense is that? Right, present perfect. Their inability to attend the assembly session due to the prevailing atmosphere. I have already given a lot of combinations with the word prevailing. Prevailing situation, prevailing problems, prevailing context. Now you got a new word. What is that combination? Prevailing atmosphere. Underline the word atmosphere. But there is another word with the same meaning, but you cannot use in this context. Write the word ambience. You cannot use in this context, mind you. But atmosphere, another word, ambience. Where do we use this? Imagine you go to a 5-star hotel. How much does coffee cost over there? 600 or 250? No way. 700, 600 minimum. And tea also 600 plus. Why should they charge so much? They charge for the ambience. When you go down the road, do you get the same ambience? No. A 5-star hotel, the interiors are different, the crowd is different, the whole ambience is different. For that they spend a lot of money, so obviously they have to get that back. They charge so much. Let us go to, as violence continues in parts of the state. So what is the prevailing atmosphere? Still tense and disturbed, chaotic. To justify that, as violence continues in parts of the state, scattered I said, sporadic incidents, it is unlikely that the governor is unaware of the constitutional position, that she is bound by the advice. Underline the word advice. Is it a verb or a noun? Please write noun. And also underline bound by the advice of the government with regard to summoning the assembly. The sentence talks about, it is not that governor does not know. It is not that governor is not aware. The governor knows. The governor is aware. And she knows her limitations. She is bound by the advice of the elected representatives, the ministries, the minister or the chief minister, or all the members of the assembly. But in spite of that, she has not convened the assembly. Perhaps she has her own reasons. Already editorial says two reasons. One is political, the other one is law and order. A constitution bench had made this clear in Nabam Rebia 2016. Underline, had made this clear. Again, which tense is this? Past perfect. Whether the governor is guided by her own wisdom or the union government's assessment of the situation, it is difficult to justify the failure to hold the assembly session as sought by the Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers wanted the assembly to be convened, but it hasn't happened. Why the governor has not convened the assembly based on the recommendation made by the Council of Ministers? There could be two reasons. One reason could be her own wisdom. Based on her judgment, she must have thought it is not advisable. The second possibility, based on the directions from the center. You all know that if the center says don't act, they don't act. Because usually there is a saying. What is that saying? The governors, I'm sorry to say this, it's a general statement. It may be a little derogatory for the post of governor, but in the newspapers you come across, so I don't mind using. Usually the saying is, the governors are the puppets in the hands of the center. Have you heard of that? So what does it mean, puppets in the hands of the center? They have to play to the tunes of the center, dance to the tunes of the center. I gave yesterday, do you remember? So it could be either this reason or that reason. It is difficult to justify. Whatever the reason, it cannot be justified, not acceptable. The failure to hold the assembly session as sought by the Council of Ministers. The last session of the Manipur Assembly was held in March, and the House has to meet again before the expiry of 6 months from its previous sitting. The time lapse also means the gap between two periods. Another meaning of the word lapse. One is temporarily you forget something. The other one, the gap between two periods. Lapse. Time lapse. That's a different expression. And what is the time allowed for the assembly to meet? 6 months time. And when is that going to end? the period ends on September 2nd. If the assembly does not meet before September 2nd, which completes the 6-month tenure or term, and it gets dissolved, obviously. They have to do something to extend. Shall I go to the second part of the editorial? There have been both political and civil society demands. Underline, there have been. Which tense is this again? Present perfect active voice or passive voice? Active voice. She has been a student. There have been something. Present perfect active voice. There have been two things, two sources rather, demands point of view, both political and civil society demands. I'll take 1 or 2 minutes, I'll go off the track. First you underline the word both, also underline and. Morning after the mock test explanation, one student came and asked me. I gave the answer for one of the questions, and in that question the word both there, and I gave the answer as well as. Then he asked me, sir, actually there is a rule. What is the rule? Both does not go with as well as, it goes with the word and. How come you said as well as? Then I told him, I would like to tell all of you, please listen very carefully. Many students, based on my expertise and experience, I would like to say this, many candidates across the country, they learn the rules, yes or no, and they go with the rules blindly. That is a dangerous approach. Rules are there, that is a prerequisite. It's a prerequisite, you have to learn the rules. But in the exam what happens, the moment you come across a word, blindly you cannot say as well as should not be there. That is ridiculous. A language does not work that way. When you come across the word both, first thing you have to become alert. And you have to recollect the rule. It does not take as well as, it takes and. But the most important thing, you have to read the sentence meticulously, understand the context, then you have to ask yourself whether you can apply the rule or not. And in that example, it says, both the countries are going to do this as well as that. Both the countries, both is not related to the second part of the sentence. Both the countries, any problem? Then you should not bring that rule into the picture. Have you got it? Learn the rules, but don't go blindly with the rules. That is a message over here. Here, why I had to tell about that? There have been both political and civil society demands for the assembly to meet and discuss the violence that broke out. Break out means what? You have already written. Phrasal verb of the day, start suddenly. Broke out early in May over a High Court order that directed the Manipur government to respond to a communication from the Union Ministry for Tribal Affairs on recommending the grant of scheduled tribe status to the Métis community. I think all this because of what? Why the violence broke out? Particular status to a particular tribe, and based on that the reaction. The sentence talks about that. The delay on the governor's part, underline the delay 1 unit, on the governor's part 1 unit. The delay on the governor's part in notifying the session cast a shadow on the legitimacy and authority of the government headed by Chief Minister and Biren Singh. When the Supreme Court says or the center says, obviously the governor has to do it, and if the governor does not comply with the direction from the center or the Supreme Court, obviously the elected government has no role to play. It becomes a non-entity. Non-entity means what? No powers. You are their namesake. So it goes against the concept of democracy. Yes or no? That's what the sentence says. On the legitimacy, cast a shadow on the legitimacy and authority of the government headed by Chief Minister and Biren Singh. The governor would be well advised, again underline the word advised. Here is it a noun or a verb? Verb, right verb. The governor would be well advised to act on the cabinet's recommendation. So it means it is better the governor acts on the recommendation of the Council of Ministers or the cabinet. On another issue, there appears to be an unusual delay in the appointment of Justice Siddharth Mridul, a judge of the Delhi High Court, as the Manipur High Court's Chief Justice. There are two problems over here. One is about convening the assembly, and that has been discussed elaborately. The second one goes with the appointment of a particular judge as a Chief Justice of Manipur. Yes or no? So that is being delayed. That is also, it cannot be justified. On another issue, what is the other issue? There appears to be an unusual delay. strange delay in the appointment of Justice Siddharth Murdal, a judge of the Delhi High Court, as a Manipur High Court's Chief Justice. Political reasons or some other reasons, we don't know, but cannot be justified. The court has been under an acting Chief Justice for several months now. Please underline has been under. It has been under whom? An acting Chief Justice for several months now. Which tense is this? Please write present perfect. Report suggests that the center has forwarded, again present perfect, the collegium's recommendation to the state government for its consent, for its approval. Center has forwarded something and collegium's recommendation. It is related to the appointment of the Chief Justice of Manipur High Court. The question arises whether any constitutional functionary in the state is holding back the process. So functionary means what? An important representative either from the party or the government with a specific role or authority to do something. Now there is a doubt here. The question arises whether any constitutional functionary, means part of the constitution, in the state is holding back the process. Now it is not happening. Underline holding back. Hold back means what? You are supposed to do something, you don't do that. Then what do you say? Hold back. Don't hold back. Do it. The chain of events set off by an order passed by the acting Chief Justice has already witnessed much violence and disorder, and the state should not lapse into further constitutional disarray. The main idea is being reiterated. Already some damage, not some, a lot of damage has taken place, and if they don't act immediately, it is going to be repeated. And the state should not lapse into further constitutional disarray. Have you got the editorial? Shall we go to the exercises? We are lagging 6 minutes behind the actual schedule. Let us go to, I'll read the questions, you try to write the answers. Why did the governor not follow the advice of the government in summoning the assembly session? You have to write, listen and think. What constitutional bench ruling supports the idea that the governor is bound by the government's advice on summoning the assembly? Why are legislators of Kuki ethnicity unable to attend the assembly session? Why is there a demand for the assembly to meet and discuss the violence that occurred due to the High Court order? How does a delay in notifying the session impact the legitimacy of the Chief Minister's government? Easy or difficult to answer? But you got to use your own words and own sentences. That will help when if you think of reading comprehension skill. There are 5 phrasal verbs. Regular classes I usually teach all these. See if you remember, what is the first one here? Break in means what? Very good. Please write the meaning. Break in means interrupt. It goes with conversation, it goes with meeting, it goes with work. Usually we say, don't break in while I'm speaking. Means what? Don't interrupt while I'm speaking. Break into. To enter by force. To enter by force. A thief broke into my neighbor's house last night. A typical example. Have you got the meaning? But sometimes it goes with police. You may wonder, how come with police? Imagine someone committed suicide locking from inside and the person died. Then what will the police do? They break into. They have to break the door, lock. And break away. It goes with polity. What does it mean? I'll give one example, try to guess. The militants wanted the state to break away from the union. Break away means to get separated. Please write the meaning. Break away means to get separated. To get. What is the spelling of separated? Please underline the letter A. It is not S-E-P-E. S-E-P-A. A common error. They have given more than 20 times in different competitive exams. Breakdown has many meanings. It goes with vehicles, it goes with power, it goes with machinery. And what does it mean? Systems also. Stop working. My car broke down yesterday. Stop working, stop functioning. Please write stop working. But another meaning, there are 3 meanings, but second one also important. I'll give an example, try to guess the meaning. When I told the old lady the shocking news of her son's death, she broke down. collapse emotionally, either faint or weep or cry or sob, any of these, break down. And I'm sure you all know the last one. Do I have to tell the meaning of that? Just say yes or no. What? I'll show the last one. What is the last one? Do I have to tell the meaning? Do I have to tell the meaning? Jokes apart, end a relationship. End, E-N-D, end a relationship. She broke up with her boyfriend, or he broke up with, you complete the sentence. We'll go to error location, not that easy. Give it a try and try to read quickly. Assaults on the possibility of hope are therefore the most unkindest of cuts. A short sentence but not easy. Where is the error? Tell the word, or I will ask you, you respond. Assaults, anything wrong? What is the meaning of the word assault? Physical attack. If you don't know, write the meaning. Assault means physically attacking someone. Physical attack. Assaults on the possibility of hope. Nothing wrong, it's a phrase. On the possibility of hope. Assault singular or plural? Plural. So anything wrong? Or therefore, the most is which positive or comparative or superlative. And then the most unkindest of cuts. Underline of cuts, it's a phrase. So there's something wrong here. I will give you the choice. Will you say the unkindest of cuts or the most unkindest of cuts? Please strike off the word most. Unkindest is a superlative form. You cannot use another word. It becomes redundancy. The word most cannot be used here. The unkindest of cuts. Go to the second one. While the boy has to have a complex hand surgery, his sister continues to be hospitalized. A bit challenging, but it is based on contextual awareness. See, whenever you read a sentence, if the time phrase is not there, you ask yourself, what is this sentence about? And what is the context? Does it talk about past or present or future? What do you understand? Does it talk about past or present? Or at least the first clause, underline the first clause. While the boy, his sister continues. Second clause is in present. But the first one talks about past context or present context. Already over means past context. Then will you say has to or had to? I have to present, I had to past. He has to, he had to. The boy had to have a complex hand surgery. Put a star mark, this is not easy in my opinion. Quite challenging. Go to the next one, read the third one. So far, attempts to handle caste conflict has only been band-aids to violent outbursts. What is the subject here? First, at the outset, underline so far. Whenever you come across so far, usually remember you have to think of present perfect tense. So far means what? From the past to the present. We use present perfect tense. Attempts to handle caste conflict has only been. Here we have present perfect. But attempts singular or plural? Attempts, put these words in brackets. To handle caste conflict, that's a phrase. Non-finite verb. Will you say attempts has or attempts have? So where is the error? Has is not correct. Have is the right word. This is a lengthy sentence. Try to read and get it right. The government has now established a one-man commission headed by retired Judge K. Chandru to suggest steps to stamp in caste differences among students. A bit challenging. I will give a clue. There is a problem with the phrasal verb. In this sentence, what is the phrasal verb? You see, underline stamp in. Here, stamp in is not the right correct phrasal verb. The word stamp is right, but the preposition has to be. Please write stamp out. Stamp out, write the meaning to end something. To end something that is negative. Stamp out the discrimination. Stamp out the prejudice. Have you got the meaning? Go to the last one. A little philosophical, lengthy sentence, not easy. You got to read meticulously. Hope is what humans use to define the future, the promise of a better tomorrow that makes life bearable even when the present is infused with suffering. Positive attitude. Whenever you come across a sentence like this, a little philosophical, take each unit and try to ask yourself right, wrong. Let us start with, what is the subject here? Hope. And it is a fact. Which tense are you supposed to use? Facts and present tense. So underline is. What is hope? Hope is what humans use to define the future. Nothing wrong with this. The promise of a better tomorrow, one unit. Nothing wrong. That makes life bearable. When you think the future is positive, though you experience suffering right now, you know future is going to be bright. Will you be happy or not? That's what it says. That makes life bearable even when the present is infused with suffering. Who has taught no error? Answer is no error. No error in the sentence. What do you think? Which part is wrong? Infused with suffering. Nothing wrong with that. No, let us not waste time. The sentence is absolutely grammatically, contextually, philosophically correct. It's a philosophical statement. You should understand, then no error. Let us go to, what do you have here? We have, is it okay if I take till 9:50? No problem. Differentiate these. Heartland you got yesterday, the main central part of a country. What is hinterland? That's also an important word. Hinterland means away from the banks of a river. There is a river, away from the banks of the river, a little inside. You can say a rural area, not in the heart of the city, but away from the developmental activities. Then we say hinterland, deep inside. Have you got the meaning? And content you got yesterday, what does it mean? Satisfied, self-satisfied, and contempt. Don't look at others with contempt. Means what? You think others are inferior to you. Contempt, a negative word. Have you got it? Despise, another word. Look down upon. Write all these. Look down upon, despise, negative words. Expanse you got yesterday, what does it mean? Vast areas of something without any break, continuous. And expense means what? You should be able to prospective bankers. Expenses, the money you spend on something. Commendable you got yesterday, praiseworthy, wonderful. Commendable, he is in a commendable position. Means to be able to command. Underline the word command here. Commendable means in a position to command a group or someone or something. Skeptic you got yesterday, what does it mean? Someone who doubts. And what is the other word? Cynic. Cynic means what? Always negative. We have done with that. Let us go to the last exercise. Please read this one quickly. In Rajasthan, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot is given a free hand to lead the charge. The office challenger Sachin Pilot. The what? The third word. What is the third word here? The induction of his challenger Sachin Pilot and tribal leader Mahendrajit Singh Malviya to the Congress Working Committee is expected to what? Reinforce party unity. The party has tried to reassure what sort of social groups? Happy or unhappy? What is the other word for unhappy? Discontented. First word is the answer. Discontented social groups. And what is the next one? Rebellious leaders. And do what? Assuage rebellious leaders. What is the one for D? Assuage. In various states. And the constitution of the new body is largely representative of the geographical and social. What? Second word, expanse. Geographical and social expanse. Though some what? Enchantment. Again, not satisfied, might surface in the days ahead. The new Congress working committee reflects both imagination and compromise. Over. One more is there. What is that one? I hope, how many of you are writing about the editorial in brief? Please raise your hands. I want to see more hands. Don't take anything for granted. My first suggestion. What happens, human nature, here the questions are there. And we have a glance, have a look, fine, we'll write later. Human attitude, nature. What is this editorial about? I got a clear picture. Why to write? I can save my time. Don't do that. Please write the answers in your own sentences and write about the editorial in your own sentences. What is the reason? Do you have the descriptive paper? And what are you supposed to do there? Write the essay, write the letter. This habit of writing, because we are not writers. Are we writers? Is English our mother tongue? So somewhere we have to start in a small way. What is a small way? Question, answer. Then about the editorial in brief. That habit helps in the long run. That's all for today. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.